Okay, everyone, I think it's time and I think we can start. So welcome. Welcome to the webinar Cutting and Wrapping by BOSKA and the Academy of Cheese. Today we will take you on a journey from a big wheel of cheese, 12-kilogram wheel of cheese, to sellable wedges, and to make them even more sellable, we'll show you how to wrap them. And it's not just someone who tells you, that will be Hanna Lee. First, let me introduce myself. I'm from Holland, I live in Leiden, and I am a product developer at BOSKA, where we make our cheese cutting tools for professionals. And today we will, together with the Academy of Cheese, we will show you how to use them and to make your wheel, to divide it into sellable and to pack it like a prize-winning article. So now, like I said, I am Tom, but I'm not the only one talking today. So, Hanna Lee, can you please introduce yourself, because you are a winner in one of our team.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Hanna Lee, and I'm currently working as a cheesemonger in New Mexico, in Albuquerque. And this last year in November, I won the Young Cheesemonger of the Year, which is a competition put on by the Academy of Cheese. So I'm excited to be here today and show you some plastic and some paper wraps. Yeah, I've been in the industry since 2018, so I have a little bit of cheese wrapping experience that I can't wait to share.
Well, that's great. Thank you. Anna, it's an honor to have you with us today. And well, now we have introduced ourselves today, a little bit how it's going to be. I will do the cutting. So I will divide the cheese into the wedges, show you the right techniques, how to cut it, how to have as less waste as possible. And after that's done, and this all will be according to the Level Road Learning 1 from the Academy of Cheese. And this is only a tip of the iceberg, because you can learn so much more during this Academy of Cheese course. So if you are really interested in more, go do the course, because you will really get really great cheesemonger from that. So let's start. So what I always like to start is with the Dutch cheese knife. And I have over here a coincidence. So this is the Dutch cheese knife. And why is it like this? Because you also have straight knives. If I grab one from here real quick, you can also see that knives like this exist. But why do we like the Dutch cheese knife so much? Well, when you have a cheese, let's say this one, if you start cutting a cheese with a straight knife, you can see that when I touch it, the blade is touching the knife, the blade is touching the cheese from left to right, all the way. So now when I start pressing, or I do like maybe like this, but when I start pressing, all of the tension and all of the force I apply to the knife is divided over the whole length of the blade. And that can be kind of heavy, especially with those hard cheeses. But when I use a Dutch cheese knife, as you can see, there's only one small part of the blade touching the, and that way all my force is focused on this point, and it's easier to get through the cheese. When you are in the cheese, at this point you start wiggling, and you can see that the point where the knife is, the cheese is moving, and that makes it more easy. Then you also have like a cross handle on this side and a length handle on this side, so you can steer your way through the cheese with the cross handle, and you can apply force with the length handle. But there's one big but, because it's very sharp. It really is sharp. You have a lot of young personnel in your store, have to learn how to handle knives like this and handle cut. It can be a bit of a hustle, and it takes time. So back in the days, one of the founders of BOSKA, together with his father, I believe, created something else. They started cutting with a wire. So at first it was just a wire with two handles, and then it evolved into a wooden board with a wire attached to it. So this brings us to the next product, and that is, I would call it the Cheesemonger Pro, in short, CCP. So the CCP is a plastic with a wire into it with a handle. And as you can see, it has a spring mechanism. So when you cut with a wire, as you can see, I can just touch it. I wouldn't do this with a knife. That would be very sharp and it would be painful. But a wire is strong, but not sharp. So you can cut cheeses without cutting yourself. And there's also one but, because you can only cut cheeses with consistent textures, which means no big nuts in it or no big solid pieces, because the wire is strong but not sharp, it will pull those pieces through the cheese and your cut will not be that nice. So only cheeses with consistent textures, and also you want to score cheese with a, as we like to do it, with a scoring knife, because this knife has a small tip on the bottom, in the front, and when you score the cheese, you only score the rind of it. So that's the hardest, well, the toughest part of a cheese, and then the wire will do the rest. You only have to score the beginning. Yeah, as you can see, I have two devices over here. So this is the CCP Cheesemonger Pro, and this is the Cheesemonger. I will come to this soon. A great thing about the Cheesemonger Pro is that it's unbreakable. I hope your ears are all right. I don't know if you have your ears in, but as you can see, it still is in one piece. And that is why this is such a great device. You can throw it around, you can let it fall, and it still works. It's unbreakable. So even clumsy cheesemongers can use the tool. Yeah, but this is the Cheesemonger Pro with a handle on this side, because when you have a small, let's say, cheese like this, you have one hand in a cheese, the handle in your other hand, and you can start cutting like this. And after your cut, this is a fake cheese, so I won't be able to cut it. Then your cheese is cut and your handle is already on the right side. And that's a very quick way of working. But now we come to the other machine, which is the Cheesemonger. The Cheesemonger, as you can see, handle on the other side. And there are a few more differences between the Cheesemonger Pro and the Cheesemonger, so CCP and the COM, as we call it. So the handle is on this side, and that is because this one was used most of Holland in the beginning, and we see it grow in countries as well. But this one is really designed for bigger cheeses, 12, 16 kilogram wheels of Gouda, like we have over here. Because if you cut a cheese like that, you need two hands to put it on the machine. Then the handle is already on the right side to start cutting. When you are done cutting, then the wheel is in two, and then you can put the handle back to the front and start cutting again. So then with bigger wheels of cheese, this is a quicker way of working with the handle on the other side. Another difference is that this machine has a cutting board, which can be used as a cutting board. So you can cut on this machine, because every cheese shop has a lack of space. So when you have this machine, you can use it as a cutting board, and although this is indestructible by throwing, and it can't handle knives really well. So why does it have a spring mechanism in it? Both of them, like this, and also this one has a spring mechanism in it. That's because then you can also cut bigger cheeses with a shorter wire. If you have a wire without spring mechanism, it has to be really long. And when you cut and you end up over here, that's very unfortunate when your colleague is walking by, especially at this height. So you don't want to do that. So that's why you have a spring mechanism, big cuts with shorter wires. So let's start cutting. Let's show you how we cut. So then I'll grab a cheese, but not this one, because I have one real cheese over here. And that is this one. I won't be throwing this on the ground. Don't worry. So like I said, we have a wheel of cheese and the wire is strong but not sharp. And that's why it won't go through the rind. So what we do first, we see people using knives. We like to use the scoring knife, which is designed for the hardest cheeses, also like Parmigiano Reggiano. That is where these are also, we have a Parmigiano Reggiano knife set, and that's also where this one is in. So we start cutting and we only do the beginning. So we have our cheese over here. We make a cut and not all the way through. This is enough. So now I have a cut over here. I'll also make a cut on the other side. Like that. And that is enough. Maybe you can see it, maybe not, it's a bit further away, but the cut goes from here to here. When you have made that cut, you just position the wire into the part you just scored, and you can put it, as you can see, one hand, and I cut straight to the back. One hand. Well, I think I don't have to convince you that cutting with a wire is lighter than cutting with a knife, right? You just stop. So here we have one cut, and as you can see, it's a very, I'll come to you to show it. This is a very smooth cut. Totally straight. That's how we like it. And maybe I haven't read your questions, but maybe there's a question in there. Why didn't this thing fall off the counter? That's because it is attached with counter hooks, as you can see here. So these ones go around the counter. But if you don't have a counter with an edge on it, we also have some mounts which you can screw onto your counter, and then they hook behind little parts over here. So that is the Cheesemonger to cut your Gouda wheels in half, or other cheeses. It's also suitable for very hard cheeses, but then it gets tougher. There are also these little things on here. I just put them straight in it like this. That's for 12 or 16 kilogram cheeses. You can also twist them a little bit for smaller cheeses, like these size cheeses. Then that fits perfectly. And you can also, we don't like square cheese, but yeah, it does exist. So you also would like to cut it with this one. So then you can turn it the other way around, and then you have a like a flat wall for your cheeses to lean onto. So after you have cut your cheese in half, what do you want? You want to create the wedges. And that's why we have a different machine for that. But first, when you start cutting your half a wheel cheese in wedges, you get wedges with a sharp tip. And that's actually not what we want. Why wouldn't you want a wedge with a more sharp tip? Let me know in the comments. Why don't we want sharp-tipped wedges? Tension is running high.
Sharp tips break when wrapping.
Sharp tips break when wrapping. Exactly. When you wrap and you go around the sharp tip, it breaks or it folds. And that is a shame. Also, the sharp tips dry out. They have, it gets dry really quick, so small. And that's a waste, because the best part of the cheese is in the middle. That's why we don't like square cheeses, because they ripen from the outside to the inside. So the inside is the most moisty part, the most juicy part. It's the heart of the cheese. We don't want to ruin that. And that's why we want wedges with a blunt tip. So we want to cut the heart out like this. As you can see, when you cut the heart out first, then you have wedges left with a blunt tip. You can do it with a knife, but you can also do that with our Dividomatic. Let me get the safety off because this is really sharp. The Dividomatic, I'll twist it to you real quick. Is a machine with a lever on here. And here is the knife. And the knife is a rectangle knife, so the hard knife. When you put the cheese under here, you can cut the heart out. There are little parts over here which you can move front to the back to have a bigger heart or a smaller heart. Now I'll use these ones. I'll put it under there and I can see it like this. And I push it down. And as you can see, this takes a little bit of more force because this is a knife, not a wire. And there we have it, a heartless cheese. But the heart is no waste because it's still here. You pull it out, still here, and we can still use it. We can wrap the heart by itself. We can use the heart for the people to taste because it's the best part. And it's not drying out, it's not breaking off, it's sellable. And otherwise, the tip can be wasted. So now we have our heartless cheese. And then we want to divide it into wedges. Can do by this machine because I don't only have a hard knife, I also have a straight knife. But I won't be changing the knife today. If you really want to use it like this, the pro is that you can put your cheese under there. You can exactly see how big your wedge will be, and then you can push it down. But it takes a little bit of more force. What we also can do is use the Cheesemonger again. And that's just what you like most. Some people like this the most, some people like this the most. And I can just start cutting now. I don't have to use the scoring knife again because I'm cutting from the already cut size. So let's see. I think this will be a nice piece. I'll put the wire on there and I pull back. And here you have a nice straightly cut wedge with a blunt tip. As you can see, I pulled straight back, and that's very important. You don't pull to the side, you don't pull down, you pull straight back. That's enough. If you pull to the side or down, the wire can break more easily. It is easy to replace. As you can see, if I twist it open, the wire is in here. It's loose. But you don't want to replace the wire too often. Let me put it back. Because now we have cut a wheel Buddha into a wedge. And it can go real quick, like this. Another wedge. Another wedge. There are people in line, people waiting. Another wedge. Oh, somebody wants a bigger piece. Bigger piece. Just like that. Very easy. You go race with the cheese in no time. But we don't only have Gouda cheeses. We also have softer cheeses, like Roquefort. And if you want to cut Roquefort, which is a way more delicate cheese, you really don't want to use a knife because it also is harder because you cut this from top to bottom to create the wedges. And it's hard to go straight down. You also want to use a knife. Sorry, not a knife. A wire. And that's why you use cheese lyre, Roquefort bow, cheese bow. There are different names for it. Which is just a bow which likes to fall down actually. Yeah, with the wire in between. And like I told you before, wire is strong, not sharp, but it also creates very nice cuts, which don't destroy the cheese, especially cheeses with a very delicate structure. This is the tool to use. Then again, you have to push straight down. And it could take a little bit of practice to go straight down. And it is possible that you do this, especially in the beginning, when you're a beginning cheesemonger or when you're in a hurry. So then, if you want to make life easier, you can also use this, which is actually a kind of a cheese bow, as you can see, a Roquefort bow. But yeah, an easier one, more beautiful one. So there's a wire in here. This is our Roquefort cheese cutter. This part now has a blue dot on it because we were gonna cut blue cheeses on here. And the wire ends into a groove over here, so it ends below the cheese. When you cut with these and you start cutting, you end up on the cutting board. And when the cheese is a little bit firm, you get the wire will bend a little bit, and it won't go through the cheese fully. So in this machine, it goes into the groove, just like Madonna, and your cheese is cut fully. So if we have time left after the webinar, I will show you how to cut this, but to make my time and not to prevent that we have a webinar of 2 hours long, I will quickly show you our HACCP knives, which also are the basics of cutting. This way, because when you cut, you want to prevent cross-contamination. And you can wash your knife after you got like a blue cheese, and then you want to go to a washed rind cheese or a bloomy rind cheese, and then you have to wash your knife in between to prevent cross-contamination. What we like to advise is to use different colors. So we have the same knives in different colors, as you can see, for blue vein cheese, for white mold, bloomy rind cheeses, and for rind cheeses, red bacteria. There's some different names, but I like to say washed rind, with matching cutting boards to prevent cross-contamination. Then you also have these different styles of cheese. You have different kinds in firmness of the cheese. So there you have this little one for softer cheeses. If it's really, really soft, really recommend to using the cheese lyre, the bow. If it's a little bit more firm, you could go to a knife, but then a knife like this with a very thin blade, so it doesn't stick to the knife and it goes smoothly through the cheese without the structure of the cheese. If you have lots of different things to cut, you could go for a universal knife, and that's different. You can see the holes, so that's the same reason why this knife is very thin, but only for soft cheeses. When cheeses are harder, you need a stronger knife. Then you got this one, but still with holes, so it doesn't stick to the cheese. It has a serrated edge, and that is because some cheeses, like Roquefort, have like an aluminium foil packaging. And when you cut the packaging with a knife without a serrated edge, it gets dull really quick. So that's why you cut aluminium packaging or plastic packaging with a serrated edge, so your knife lives longer. In this case, not this one, but this one, because it's a blue vein cheese. So then you would like to cut this before cutting it with the wire. Otherwise, you will pull the aluminium foil right through the cheese, and that is also not very nice cut. Then you also have a bigger knife for semi-hard cheeses. It's a little bit bigger, so you can cut cheeses like this. This one goes here, washed rind, in one go. And there you have it. Different shapes of cheese for different kinds of cheese, with different colors for the style of the cheese. These were the tools. So as you can see, we now have the wedges. But what do we want to do with the wedges? We want to pack it. So, Hannah, I'll give you a piece of cheese. Here it comes. Let's see how we wrap those. Here comes Hannah. Yeah, there she is. Look at her count.
Hello. All right, so yeah, we'll start with paper wrapping today. And I have a piece of cheese here that's similar to what Tom just cut. So this is probably the most standard size wedge of cheese that we wrap at the shop. And I'll start with the most basic wrap, and then I'll show you a little bit more fancy one. So for this style, I like to put it on a diagonal on the cheese paper, set basically in the middle, maybe a little forward depending on how tall it is, but this one's not that tall. And then you take this back corner and you can come up the front, and now this piece of cheese is fully covered by the paper. It doesn't need to be because we're going to bring more paper over it, but that's always nice if you can get it. And then I'm going to take this is where the edge of the cheese is, and I'm just going to tuck it along, so make a little pocket here with the paper. And then we're going to fold the top piece down and bring this bottom one over. So now this side of the cheese is all sealed in. And I'm going to do the same over here. Sorry, you can't really see that, but yeah. So now we have two nice sides and the cheese is fully covered, and you can just kind of roll it forwards and bring this and put a piece of tape or your sticker or your cheese label there, and you have a nice beautiful piece of cheese that you can give to your customer. I'm using cheese paper just because we think it helps keep the cheese fresher longer in customers' fridges, but you know, there's wax paper. You can also wrap in plastic, but we like cheese paper here. So that's your most basic wrap. That one's really easy and quick if you're in a rush. And then you can do the other style is French pleating. So for that, I'm going to center the cheese with the paper not diagonal, so more straight on. And I want the taller edge to be a little bit further away from the back end of the paper, so just slightly offset. This one's not that long or tall, but just slightly offset. You're going to bring these two together in the middle there and line up your edges so they're nice and straight. And then fold down and over once, just a little fold, and you can crease it. And then another fold, crease it again. So now your paper is tight to the cheese, and it's pulled over nicely. And then we're going to find the edge of the cheese here, and we're going to tuck the paper down along the edge. You can see there's a little pocket now I've created here, like I did in the other cheese, but this time I'm going to fold these in. So you can start from the front and back, it doesn't really matter, but it just goes under. And now you have a nice clean side here with all of these folds that look really nice. And then same thing on the other side. So this is what it would look like if I folded in from the front on the other side. So now we have this wedge is wrapped. You get that nice pleat there. You can put your sticker there. Again, on the back, you can tape if you want, or it can just sit there. So that is French pleat. It can be a little tricky. If you haven't practiced French pleating before, I like to practice on square pieces of cheese. The wedge can be kind of difficult when you're trying to figure out your angle. So this is a nice piece of a raclette that we have in the shop. So for this, you can also see, like, do I want the cheese to go this way? It fits, but it's tight, so I'm going to go this way instead. And for this one, because it is square, you want it to be directly in the middle of the paper. You don't need to offset it. So same thing, bringing the tops together, and we're going to roll it down once, increase it, and then again, increase it. So you can see it's a little easier than with the slanted sides here. And then again, pushing down and folding those sides in. So a little easier with that square. You can practice all of your corners evenly. Sometimes with the slanted edges, one corner is easier than the other, but here they're the same. So you can see how tight and crisp you can get it. And yeah, that's just a really nice piece of cheese customer can take. It's very tidy on the back as well. Again, you can put a piece of tape there, but you don't need to as long as the customer leaves it on the counter like that. So then I also have round cheeses, and you can do this in the same way. I like to do the French pleat with round cheeses. I find it just fits a little bit tighter. You can do the diagonal wrap, but it can be a little trickier with that one because you don't have an end that you can go against. So for the round cheese, we're going to put it in the center, same as with the square. And then it's the same motion for all these cheeses. So once you practice it a lot, you can basically wrap anything with the steak. So same corner, corner. And then again here, come in, corner, corner. So that's a round cheese with the French pleat. Nice and tight. This one I left in the saran just because we don't unwrap these in the shop quite yet, but yeah, you would typically take that out. It is a little bit looser, but that's just because of the shape. You can't really get paper into a round very easily, but it still will protect the cheese and keep it nice. Then I have a slightly larger wedge. So like this first piece, this manchego, it's a little trickier and we'll have to offset it. And I actually, I have all these pre-cut pieces of paper. We just keep those in the shop. But we also have a roll, so I ripped off a larger piece of the roll. So a little bit longer, you can see, because this cheese is taller, this is not going to cover it quite as well as I need it to. So I ripped a longer piece. And just like that first one, so this, you can see we're really going to offset this one. So I'm going to push it probably towards the front third. And that's because we want this piece to be able to come over and go towards the center. That's this cheese. So, and this might be a little long, so I'm going to do a few more rolls. It doesn't have to be just two. It's just whatever you can do to get your paper tight on the cheese, because you don't want there to be airflow against the cheese that's going to dry out that surface. So just get it nice and tight and covered, and then we're going to do same thing for these really tall pieces. I'm actually going to push this front corner in first. It just ends up with a tidy wrap. So, and because this one I rolled a few extra times, it's a little bunchy, but most of that's going to get tucked underneath. And we still get a clean kind of fold on the side. So same thing here. I really tuck that in against the cheese, fold in that front corner, and then we're going to bring this back corner over and push it under. So again, this paper was maybe a little wide, but the great thing about paper is you can cut it down to size. So once you have more comfortability in where you're wrapping, you can pre-cut these papers. But yeah, there's that one. And then our final is for paper wrap. It's going to be a brie style or any kind of like thin, skinny wedge like this, or a little longer. You can wrap like this. I just find it a little tricky. So we have a different style of wrap we can do. So for this one, this cheese, I like to put diagonal, but we're actually not going to start this way like we did with that first wedge. We're going to come at this long side first. But I am still going to tuck up against it. So like that. And then I'm going to bring this back corner in. And we're going to create that pocket with the two flaps. And we're going to tuck down on the top and then use this bottom one to seal it against the cheese. So now we have a crisp corner there. And then I'm going to do the front nose of the cheese. So same thing, we're gonna make that pocket and tuck it in, and then go down. And then we're going to bring this back. So this is the back corner of the cheese, and we're just gonna go against it. So now we have like a nice triangle that's sticking out from the cheese. The cheese is completely covered. If you do have a little bit extra paper here, you can always just tuck it in so you have a cleaner edge to your wrap. And then this, we're just going to wrap around the cheese. So this is just to seal it in. But if your cheese was already completely covered before that, you don't want to rely on this as the way to keep your, or to wrap your cheese and cover it completely. So now we have a nice back to it, nice clean sides on both sides, a nice tip where there's not a lot of bunching or folding. This cheese is still, it didn't get bent at all or damaged. So, and again, you can put a piece of tape there, or you can just use gravity to keep that wrapped. So yeah, that's our brie. Is there any questions about wrapping that I can go over again? Okay, well, if you do have any more questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. We're going to do a Q&A session at the end, so I can go look at those again. And then I'm just going to go over some quick tips for glass wrapping. So this is for displaying these wheels in the case. So I have a small half wheel and then some different sizes of quarter wheels. And I'll show you how to wrap these slightly different. We'll start with a half wheel. So this is a nice little small wheel, probably about a 5 kilo wheel, not very wide, but I am still going to use my long wrap for this because it is we have to get over and turn around the top of the cheese. So for when I'm wrapping wheels of cheese and I want a glass wrap, I want the front face and the top to be nice and even and without the bubbles, because when it's sitting in the case, that's what the customer is seeing. So to achieve that, I'm going to set this about, again, like 2/3 on one side, 1/3 on the back. And this piece here towards the camera is going to be my bottom. So I always want the more, like the greater amount of plastic to be on the top side of the cheese. And sorry, we're having some issues with our plastic in the shop. So I'm going to pull up and over, and I want that to go halfway or slightly over halfway. And then I'm going to pull this up, and I just want them to overlap, not a ton. You don't need it to come all the way to the other side of the cheese. So you can see, you know, about 1/3 of the wrap and then 2/3 of the wrap. So it's much longer on that top side. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull tight here and just stick this to the back of the cheese. Because of the way that we're wrapping it, you're not going to see this in the case. So this bottom and the back is where I put all my bun cheese, but you can already see that start of the glass wrap on the front. And then for the top, something that's really nice and important to do when you're glass wrapping is you want to make sure you're kind of fluffing the plastic wrap out so you don't have any bunchies, and you can kind of pull tight and see exactly like which piece of the plastic you're pulling. So I have just a single layer on the top and then kind of the groupies on the bottom. And I'm going to pull against here, tuck, and then I like to tuck under the cheese with that top piece. And then again over here, so pull back, down, and tuck under the cheese. So now from the front, you have that nice smooth glass surface. Same with the top, very smooth. And what's nice about tucking under is that piece is now being held down by gravity. So you don't have to worry about taping the cheese at all. Yeah, you can just put it in your case like that, and the weight of the cheese itself will hold it down. Cut the cling. Okay. Yeah, I'll show you the cling again. This, we have a like a serrated knife or serrated blade on our cling, so we don't have the sliding. I just find that's a little easier for our shop. So there's that one. And then we'll do the quarter wheel. So this is a slightly larger diameter quarter wheel. like a 15-pound. I'm not really sure what that is in kilos. So with this, the same, I'm gonna do the offset. And I'm gonna have it with the tip facing up. So again, this is my bottom side that the customer won't see. This is gonna be seen, and then this is the top. So reaching over, this goes about halfway, slightly further. You also want to make sure that you're setting yourself up for success here and not starting with any super bunchy pieces on the face. And then you can kind of tilt with that corner, pull against it. And then again, I'm just assessing with my eyes how far that piece will go. It'll probably come to about here on the cheese, which is where my first piece of plastic is. So I'm just going to cut it. So again, because we have that serrated knife, I can just push against it. And I find that is a little easier. And then again, we're going to fluff that out so I can see which piece of plastic is against the face. And I'm just going to pull that to that back of the cheese. And same on this side. You want to pull against the face, so not against the tip, because then you can rip through the plastic pretty easily. And again, this bottom, nobody's going to see that, so it can be a little messy. We'll try and get a little neater on the top of the cheese. So pulling, you can see I'm pulling this way. So a little bit more against the tip on the top, just because I want to keep that top face as clean as possible. And then we're going to tuck it underneath. And then here again, so fluffing it again. We're going to pull. I'm not pulling this way. I'm not pulling this way. I'm pulling kind of in between them. And with these larger quarters, you are just going to get a little bit of that bunching. It's kind of unavoidable, but the tighter you can get it, the less visible that will be to the customer. And again, underneath. So I have my plastic from the front going over and under. So we have those nice clean glass surfaces on the front, and as close as I can get it on the top there. But again, the weight of this cheese will keep that wrap closed. And then if you have a smaller quarter, so this isn't quite a quarter wheel, you can wrap it the same way as I just showed you, but with a smaller piece or a smaller wrap. It still works for those, but because this is not quite a quarter, it's just a tough angle there to pull back against. So we like to wrap like this with those so we can kind of set them on top of those full wheels. So this, I'm going to face the tip away from me and have that back towards me. This piece on the bottom of my hand is now going to be the bottom surface of my cheese in the case. And I'm going to come up and over, and I want enough plastic that we're getting about halfway under that bottom surface there, and then pull away, and again, about halfway under that cheese there. So I'm just using my eyes. And for this, you're still just bunching underneath because that bottom surface is going to be the surface that the customer doesn't see. So then I'm going to fluff this out again. So we can have bunchy on the bottom, but we want it to be clean on the top there. And now for this one, I'm going to pull against the cheese sideways and tuck that first piece. And then this one, I'm going to kind of pull against the back. And that I find just gets that cleanest seal on the side there. And then same with this side. So starting at the front again. And then we're going to pull against that back. So that can sit on a wheel or a half wheel or something in your case. That's your next piece that you're going to cut. And it's got a nice clean surface, a little bunching on the side, but most customers are not going to notice that. All right. Any other questions, you guys? Do you want me to wrap the half wheel again? I can do that to show you the slow motion cleaning for that half wheel. Yeah, I can do that. So half wheels, I think, are the best place to start. Quarter wheels can be tricky because you are dealing with that corner, which is more apt to ripping. So because you have a nice flat surface here, you can really practice that technique of pulling the wrap over and under. Again here, we're just gonna fluff that and pull it back. Because this is that half wheel, I'm just tucking it on the back there. And then with this one, over and under with that piece. And then same again here, so over and under. And a lot of times I find people when they're new to wrapping are super scared of ripping the plastic. You don't need to be. It's usually pretty sturdy, and if it does rip, it's super easy to cut another piece. Yes, I can do the brie again. So for this one, I can show you with a smaller piece of paper. This is some reusable cheese paper that I just have lying around. So again, we're going to do that diagonal. Because this is a little of a smaller piece of paper, I'm going to offset it because I want this corner that we're taking over the top of the cheese to be pretty lined up. Because that's what's getting you that first initial cover. Okay, then we're going to pull against this back corner here and create that pocket again. And if you want, you can also, this top piece, you can push this way. You don't need to push it down and in. It's just going to alter how that corner looks, but it's totally fine. So I can go over, and then this piece comes over, and you can just hold that with your finger. Then we're going to tuck in this corner, this front corner. So because this piece is a little narrow for this piece of cheese, it's going to be pretty tight in there, but you still can get it around. And you're going to seal it by creasing. That way it stays a little better. You don't have to worry about holding it so tightly with your finger. And then this corner is going to come over. And again, I'm just going to tuck that little tail so we have a clean flat piece there. So that is my wrap. So these are the two back corners coming up, coming around the front and then around the back again. And then like that first piece, you just are going to tuck it all in with that big flap. That's what helps you like collect those little ends there. And then again, that just goes under your cheese. So you can tape it. This paper doesn't stay closed as well because it's a little slippery. This is actually a reusable cheese paper that you can wash. That's a little plasticified, but that's your brie. All right, anything specifically for me on wrapping before we open up for the rest of the Q&A? Yeah, so this paper is Formaticum cheese paper. It's just what we can get easily in the US. I know there's a lot of other brands in Europe, and then we kind of just grab whatever plastic film we have access to. Down in New Mexico, it's a little trickier for us to find super high quality, so this plastic wrap is a little thinner than I would typically use. So I don't recommend it, but any will do. Smaller pieces of cheese than the ones demoed. You can just cut your paper down before it. It's honestly harder to cut or to wrap your cheese when you have a lot of excess paper. So yeah, cutting it down in advance is definitely, you're allowed to do that. Don't try and wrap with a lot of extra.
Okay, so I thank you very much, Hannah. That was a very, very, very clear explanation. You really can see your love for the cheese because you tuck in those cheeses like a mother tucks in her child. So we want to go to the Q&A, but there's one other very important thing because you can win something. We have a raffle. So we have also one of our colleagues, Avinash, in the chat. So Avinash, can you do the raffle for us?
Yeah. Hey everybody. So I have been I've I've compiled a list of everybody that was here, everybody that was participating as well. And I threw it into Google Number Generator. I'd say about 20 times, so I made sure it was really, really, really random. Um, and the winner for the BOSKA webinar raffle is Lynn Peters.
Wow.
Lynn Peters. Um, Yeah. So Lynn, after the webinar, we'll be sending you an email. And congratulations. I believe you have won our, let me just see. You are based out of the Netherlands. Okay, cool. So you have
Ah,
won our rock foil dispenser.
the rock foil dispenser. This one.
Yay.
We saw it. It's not foil-o-matic, but it's the rock because it doesn't move when you pull it, just like Dwayne.
So we'll reach out to you, Lynn, after the webinar. But yeah, we can continue on to the Q&A session.
Congratulations, Lynn. Okay, I think it's time to go to the Q&A. Please ask all your questions now. Avinash, I heard that there are already some questions in the Q&A. So let's go through them.
Yeah. I believe Hannah already answered about the Formaticum papers and the smaller pieces. There was a question really early on, Tom. I think this is for you. Daniel is asking how to cut a 25 kg Bergkass. I'm
Yeah.
not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. 18
Yeah.
months old.
It's like a little bit German bergkäse, you could say.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the big wheels, like 25 kilos. I have here a Gruyere dummy, which is also bigger. They, of course, don't fit on this machine. So when you want to cut these bigger cheeses, you want to use a loose wire with handles. You could use a knife, but it's a bit of a hassle. We see wires used a lot, so I'm just grabbing it really quickly. So we have different kinds of cheese wire. Yeah, a plastic handle with this. You can buy different wires with different length. So if you have a bigger cheese, you can use a bigger wire. This has one handle, but the handle is reusable. We also have it with a wooden handle, and that is stuck. So then you have this wire. You can put it around the cheese and pull it. And if your cheese is really big, then of course this is too small, or you need really long wire, but then you can use the wire with two handles. So you can put it around the cheese and then pull it. And that is how you actually cut the really bigger cheeses, like this one. And no, I'm not that strong. This is just fake.
Nice. Cool.
Does that answer the question?
Yeah, I think that was a good answer. Let's see. Somebody asked, and this is more for you, Hannah. Should we be plastic wrapping every time we are cutting a cheese wheel, or just at the end of the day?
Yeah, so I think it depends a lot on where you live and the moisture of the cheese. So because I'm down in New Mexico, it's very dry out. So we try not to have our cheeses unwrapped for very long. I do think that is best practice. As soon as you're done with your sale, just wrap everything back. You can also put it back in your case then, and it's sort of like a reset. So when the next customer comes in, it looks like they're walking into your fresh shop for the day. But yeah, I would say rewrapping as soon as possible is best for keeping that quality of the cheese. Because the more it's exposed to oxygen, the more oxidizing it's going to do on the outside, and it's going to impact that flavor, especially if you're tasting cheese to people. You always want that outside to be fresh, and you don't want to have to face in too much, so that they can get the actual flavor of the cheese.
Nice. Cool. I hope that answered your question. Tom, this one is for you. How do you suggest sharpening the cheese knives?
We always suggest going to a professional sharpener. We know a lot of sets exist to sharpen the knives. Those little ones where you pull the knife through, but they're nice for home use for people at home. For professionals, we like to go to a professional professional sharpener. And if you are really skilled by sharpening, you could use like the whetstones, but that is, yeah, something you have to learn. So, and it depends on which knife you have. For example, the Dutch cheese knife is sharpened on an angle of 30 degrees both sides, and you want these, let's see, yeah, these knives to be sharpened at both sides, so to the left and to the right. But with the serrated edge, you can see it's only sharpened to one side, and also harder to sharpen this one, but that's why it is serrated, so it doesn't get dull that quick.
Nice. Cool. Let's see. Yeah, I think another question for you, Tom. They want to know if they should have different kinds of knives, even if they're only selling hard cheeses.
Yeah, for the cross-contamination, hard cheeses also can have different styles. Like you have hard cheeses with blue vein in it, hard cheeses with washed rind. So then I would advise indeed different knives to prevent cross-contamination, or just to work quicker, of course. And if you only have semi-hard cheeses, you can use the same shape knife like this one, but when it has a lot of packaging around, aluminium packaging, you do want to have the universal knife. This is also just an open up other packaging, so I think this is just need in all the stores. And a Dutch cheese knife still is used a lot in the stores next to the Cheesemonger or the Cheese Commander Pro. But if you really say we need to have other knives for different cheese, that would be to prevent cross-contamination. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, I think that was all I see someone just asked if we have different colored handles for the CCP. We don't. We just have the one black handle for the CCP.
You would have to change the wire also, or have multiple CCPs.
Yeah.
You could color code it by yourself, maybe by a sticker on the part where the cheese is not touching the machine. But there are no different color codes on the CCP at the moment.
Right. Okay. I see there are some people that joined a bit late. A recording of the webinar will also be available, so you can also go back, even if you didn't join late, you can go back and see how Tom cut and how Hanna wrapped the cheeses. But
Yes.
I think we covered everything. If there's any
Yes.
last minute questions, guys, let us know.
So things that we might, if we have some time left, things that we might have missed, which are also in the Academy of Cheese course, is of course the tools I have over here. So that would be a cheese tester. Cheese iron is also what it's called. For the people who don't know it, this is used to test cheese. So if I go to this part over here, which I already have cut, but let's imagine this is still a whole wheel. You use these to test the cheese from the outside to the inside. So as you can see, you want to, there's a little fly over here. It likes cheese, I think. So you want to go, now we have a nice like open up view. So you want to go from here to the cheese. So you can test the whole life of the cheese because it ripens from the outside to the inside. So if you put it in like this and you twist it a few times, then pull it out, then you get a sample of the cheese just like you can see the ages on the tree from the outside to the inside. You can smell it, you can taste it if you want to. Put it back because you have seen enough. So that is what a cheese iron is for, or cheese tester, or cheese dryer. And then we also have, of course, the cheese slicer, or cheese plane. That's also how we like to call it in different countries. And that's very handy to have into your apron when you're in the store, because people like to taste. And when you have just cut it, you can grab it here over here like you're a cowboy, let the people taste. So, woman backstage, would you like a slice?
Yes, please.
Salt. 2 little extras just at the end.
Awesome. Yeah, I think there's one last question for you, Tom.
Yeah.
What knife is best for Parmesan aged cheese?
If you want to open up a whole wheel of Parmigiano Reggiano, you want to use the whole set by breaking it up. I walk to you real quick. I'll come up close. Hello. So then you have these 4 knives. Let me turn it around so the logo is to you. So you have a set of this with the scoring knife, which you already have seen, to cut the rind. You do it all the way around cheese. Then you have the Parmesan knife and the cracking knife. So this one goes in the middle of the wheel. You stick it in and you wiggle, and it's sharpened on both sides. So you pierce it in the middle to the center of the cheese. Then you have these ones, which you put to the side of the wheel, and those are sharpened on one side, thicker on the other. So you push the 2 parts of the wheel, left and right of the crack, aside. Then you do the same on the other side, and then you crack open the cheese. We can talk hours about cracking open a Parmigiano Reggiano, but maybe we'll have a webinar on that later this year, so stay tuned. If you want to do it really easy with a wire, we also, I'm coming to you, little moment. We also have this device, which is a bit bigger. Sneak peek, there is a new one coming, which fits the 1896 collection with the nice aluminum frames. But there's an axle on the bottom of this. I believe, no, this one doesn't have a wire at the moment. But then you also have the Parmigiano Reggiano wheel, which you score all the way around. There's a wire on this axle, which you can pull out at the top. Like that. You put the wheel in, and then you twist over here, and you twist to get the wire back down, and then you pull the wire through the cheese. And that is how you can really easy crack open with a Parmigiano Reggiano the easy way, but not the authentic way. So that's up to you. Would you like this, where even a 12-year-old beginner can crack open a wheel, or do you want to be the authentic cheesemonger to crack open it and make a show out of it? 2 options. Does that answer the
Awesome.
question?
Yeah, that was great. Thank you, Tom, and thank you so much, Hannah, for being here and teaching us how to cut and wrap. Of course, if you want more tips on cutting and wrapping, as well as maybe more if you're interested in some more educational sessions about becoming a monger, everything is available on the Academy of Cheese website. You can also reach out to us at BOSKA at 6starservice@boska.com. I just put the email in the chat if you have any additional questions about BOSKA or the webinars. Our past webinars and this one will also be on YouTube. So if you need to go back and watch them, just go to YouTube on our channel and you can see them. Yeah, any closing remarks from you guys?
Well, Hannah, thank you very much for joining this webinar and showing those rapping skills. I think I'm a better rapper now. Rapper with a W. And yeah, once again, if you want go to the Academy of Cheese and do those learning roads, because you will get a freaking good cheesemonger in no time with knowledge about the cheese. Hanna, would you like to have a last word?
Yeah, thanks for having me, and hopefully my rapping skills helped. If you have more questions about rapping or you want to chat more, you can find me on Instagram and just send me a message. I'm always happy to help new cheesemongers kind of fix their skills and give some tips and tricks. So yeah, this was fun.
Nice. Okay, thank you all. Then this was the end of the webinar. Stay tuned for more webinars. We'll be doing 4 this year, but maybe there will be more. So stay tuned. See you next time.
Bye all.